Last week I seen the first of the Japanese beetles. I don't know if this is normally when they come. I think they're a fairly new bug to North America. They're not native here. And the problem with Japanese beetles, from what I've read, is there's no predator. So it's not really anything that takes them out naturally. But yeah, they do a ton of damage to my zinnias and mainly my dahlias. Hence, one of the things I do to fight bugs is this morning I sprayed them with a mixture of molasses, kelp. I had some seaweed fish stuff in there. Or, I don't know what do you call that? The dead fish stuff. I can't remember what else I put in there, but I'm just trying to give them a boost because last week as well, I took their brix measurements with the refractometer. I think that's how you say it. I think I'm tired this morning. Anyways, I don't know if I'm still taking the numbers wrong, but my plants are so low, like 5 to 8, and I think the number is like 10 to 12 when they start being untasty to bugs. So the healthier your plants are, the higher the sugar content in the leaves, which is what the measurements that you're taking, the less likely some of these bugs that like to suck the juices and stuff and eat the plants, they won't be tasty anymore. So that's the research that's been happening, is what levels do you need so bugs don't want to eat your plants. But it's also just a sign of how healthy your plants are. So I guess my dahlias, either I don't know what I'm doing or my dahlias are not healthy right now. When I was out here this morning, I found all sorts of Japanese beetles, and now I can't find them. Like, I see damage, like this leaf here is all, like, the Japanese beetle eats all the part in between the veins. So I know they're around here. I think in the morning they're sleepier, so that's when you're supposed to collect them. Like, you take a pail or something with soapy water and you can just drop them in there because they're not really flying around that much. So this is probably the wrong time to be scouting for them, but oh, there's one right here. And oh, there's another one right over there. You can kind of see the damage that they, they also fly really far, but see how they just eat holes in the leaves? And I don't find they actually eat too much of the zinnia petals, but in the dahlias, it's kind of the reverse. I feel like they don't really eat the leaves so much, but they eat the blooms. And so that's worse. I don't always care if they're in my zinnias, but I do care when they're in my dahlias. I've been deadheading most of the damage in my dahlias with any blooms that the beetles have been on. So I can only find this one, but I don't know if you can see that some of the petals have been eaten. So that's kind of what they do. They love dahlia petals. And the other damage I'm having out here, especially on my white, is you see only half the bloom has opened. That's tarnished plant bug, and I think it digs its way in here and stops the bloom from opening. So I definitely have that in my dahlia patch too. I often have cucumber beetle problems, but I think some years are worse than others, and hopefully this is a year that's not going to be bad, because I actually haven't seen them yet, unless they just come out more in August. So my daughter was at a garden center last week, and I had already been talking about the Japanese beetles, that they're back. And so she asked if I wanted a Japanese beetle trap. So I've never used these. I've read up on them. I don't know. I was just like, sure, get it. But now I'm like, I don't think I want to put it up. But the problem with the trap is I think they're pretty effective. I've obviously never used it, but they have this yellow, I think it goes like this. Probably should read the instructions, but the Japanese beetles fly fast and far. So if you put this in your garden, you will be attracting Japanese beetles from all your neighbors. I think the book says, put it, traps at least 3 meters away from plantings, as they will attract beetles to the foliage if placed closer. But I think that's deceiving. I've read you want this a minimum 100 feet from your garden. Like you want your neighbor to put this trap up. You don't want to put the trap up because you're just saying, hey, Japanese beetles, come over here. And they don't all go in the trap. They just go to the plants in your garden then and start eating. But anyways, I am going to put them very far at that end of the field and just experiment, and I'll let you know if the trap gets any beetles. and a girl duck is a...
Just a duck.
Chickens are flocks?
Chickens are flocks.
And then,
a gander
and it's
is
a rooster
the gander
and
is
a
the
hen.
yeah.
And a duck you think is a hen and
a drake.
A drake.
I think. But that can't be right. Now I have to Google. You're like, what are you talking about? Isn't that funny, eh? Like, I'd be the same way. I would just, we even did like goat tours, like they had like flights of goat cheese and flights of ice. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Go that way. We should Rita. No, Rita's gonna be over here today. Okay. I got Rita.
So look at today. There is no wind. There is no severe thunderstorm watch. There is no smoke. It is gorgeous out here today.
It was not in your...
Take that one. I don't have any more in the basket. So I sold out of them, and that's not going to be enough.
Everything's open if you'd like a sample.
So I have some gaps in my overwintered dahlia rows here where some of the plants didn't survive. So I'm just popping in. I have a tray, a very sad looking tray of sweet alyssum. I seeded it quite a while ago. I actually have 2 trays that for this purpose. I wanted to companion plant sweet alyssum with my dahlias. So I'm just popping them in here. I know it's a little bit late, but I'm just gonna see what they do still this summer. So the whole idea with sweet alyssum is that it has these tiny white flowers, sweet smelling flowers that the good bugs like. So another strategy for me to get a handle on the bugs that are eating my plants is to bring in good bugs that will attack the bad bugs. So that was my plan this year, was to get this out in the field earlier so that they would be blooming already and be a food source and be attractive for the good bugs to come and live in my field. But yeah, it might be a little bit later, but I'm still gonna do it. The seed is like super small. Like I'm spilling it here. I ordered a 1/4 pound and yeah, super small seed. I would like to try just sprinkling it on some of my rows, and then in some of the rows where I have heavy mulch, I'm just gonna pop these plugs in and see what happens this year. And another strategy is that I have my chickens in the field. So Pauline and I let them loose, and they will eat Japanese beetles, and they will eat cucumber beetles, and all kinds of bigger bugs that are munching away on my plants. So I'm really hoping by having healthier plants, healthier soil, an environment that good and bad bugs like to live, that I just have a balanced space out here, that not one bad bug is like controlling my whole field and taking out all my blooms. So yeah, like I am, like, look at this. This is a pretty big white bloom that hasn't been munched on. Or okay, 1 leaf. There's 1 leaf, but yeah, it is possible. I would say that I'm white flowers are way harder to get clean blooms off at this time of the year, but I'm still going to keep trying because my whole order this week for the collective was white flowers. Like if you're selling to wedding designers, there's a 50-50 chance that white is going to be the color they want. There is more colored weddings happening, but there's always the classic white weddings out there, and white flowers seem to always be a hot ticket item. And I should say before we wrap up here is that I didn't say that when I set the trap up of the Japanese beetles, but there is bait that you put on the yellow part of the trap that has a smell that attracts the Japanese beetles. It's actually a pretty strong smell, and then that's what brings them to them. So if you're wanting to use these traps, you're going to have to replace the bait every so often, I think, when it stops working, because eventually it won't be as effective. So anyways, I still don't think this is something I'm going to use. I'd rather just have my chickens and ducks out here eating them, and I think we'll be able to get a handle on it. I think we'll see how the season goes. I can't find that many right now, but great week. Beautiful weather all week. Not everywhere in Niagara and Ontario had beautiful weather all week. Tuesday was some wicked heavy thunderstorms. So we had a severe thunderstorm watch. It just got windy here, and we did get some rain, light rain, but only like 4/10. I actually am finding it quite dry, and I've been watering especially my dahlias. I feel like if they have their inch a week of water, that makes them healthier too and less yummy to the bugs. But places in northern Niagara, basements flooded, streets flooded. So I'm very thankful we did not get those storms here. So just cooler weather, no heat alerts, very nice to work out here. Market, you couldn't ask for better market weather. So it was finally a good week to assess how many flowers I can sell at the parking lot with good weather. Because I like to know my numbers so I know how much on a typical week I can sell, and I know how much to prepare, because I hate wasting time preparing bouquets that I can't sell and I over guesstimate. So yeah, I hit my minimum that I need to make every week. So I'm hoping once we get into August and some of the more popular lizanthus flowers and dahlias that I can get over the minimum, because otherwise my spending budget next year will be very, very small. So cross your fingers that August and September sales still are great. But yeah, I was okay with the sales this week at market, and very thankful for the good weather, and very thankful. I do remember I have a new member again this week. Her name's Krista, so welcome to my channel, and thank you for joining. I appreciate that, and thanks for watching my whole video, and I'll see you again next time.